Small Talk, where we have small conversation with deep implications. I'm your host, Nate Pearson.
And I'm Ronald Taylor.
And we are now on what, the 5th episode?
Yes, sir. Episode number 5.
Feels like we've only been doing this for like a week or two.
I know. Especially recording a couple last week, or the week before, I think really made it seem.
I forgot. Austin was telling me like, hey, what did y'all talk about in episode 4? And it was 2 weeks ago. And I was like, it just been so long.
Yeah, but now we're back to our regular routine. Recording again every week. So we had a good week of summer camp, and I don't think anything else is going to come up where we have to do that again. But it was.
Oh yeah. Well, the audience, they didn't have to experience any decline.
That's right. Business as usual.
Our YouTube audience had a slight delay on some content getting up there, but that's all. All right. Well, first topic, we got a crazy batch for you today. Fiance rage issues. I, a 21-year-old female, got my fiance, a 21-year-old male, the PS5. He's always been sort of a gamer, but stopped for a while until I got it for him. He really wanted it and was super excited about it. My main concern was that he started raging again. I don't mind when he curses, but it gets to a point where I'm sleeping and he's hitting his head on the wall, slapping himself on the head, shaking the bed with his legs, or doing other things that are abusive towards himself or just flat out waking me up. I try to be patient and tell him to simply change the game. As he has woken me up and I'm getting upset, I try to communicate, but instead he gets an attitude and tells me I'm trying to do something, as if I don't understand that. Just now he literally ripped his pants that he's wearing off his body out of rage. I'm not petty or anything, but I'm getting to the point where I want to set parental controls or something so he can only play during certain times. Or if he can't respect my sleep or the fact that the rage is literally too much, hiding his controller. Any advice at all? Would I be wrong? Is there anything else I can try?
This guy's just going Hulk smash at like 3 a.m. ripping his pants off.
I understand getting angry like over a game for a moment, but like,
oh my gosh,
that's crazy.
That's hardcore, dude. Like, especially, yeah. I mean, things can, games can obviously just make us upset or irritated. But dude, like slapping yourself in the head, like
just
banging your head against the stuff, like ripping your pants off, like, dude, pants are too expensive to be doing that.
Maybe tossing your controller, but I've never tossed my controller at a hard surface. If I ever have done it, and it wasn't like I was angry or anything, just frustrated, like maybe like onto the couch or something. Like, people out here breaking their stuff. Like, I had a friend, I'm not gonna name him, but he broke his TV one time raging, and I'm like,
that's so crazy, dude. Yeah, I mean, like, my first concern is, like, if my dude is gonna rage like that at a video game, like, what does y'all relationship look like? Like, is he raging in other aspects of life too? Like, how long have y'all been engaged, bro? Like, blink twice if you need help. Like, this is like, that's a lot, dude.
There's people who can handle their alcohol and those who can't. There's people who can handle their video games and those who can't.
Dude, like, that, I mean, really, like, just hearing that was my first concern, was like, dude, man, if somebody's going to get that upset and, like, hurt themselves physically, like, legitimately hurt themselves physically, like, not be considerate of other people in the room or themselves, like, what else are they getting upset at? That would be my first concern, especially she said that he was her fiance. So, I mean, before you get married, like, reevaluate, like, is this just a game concern, or, like, do they get, super angry at other stuff too?
Yeah, that's a legitimate concern, because, you're have a life partner there, and I don't want you to be in danger in any way, or your child to be in danger if you ever have a kid. Like, those are things to think about,
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, on a practical side of things, like, I don't know, I'm kind of speechless. like you literally, the guy's just like beating himself up. Yeah, I don't know, dude. Like, that is wild. I mean, just even hearing that and it being real life, it's just like pretty messed up. I would say, man, like, have a conversation, set some ground rules like, all right, we're only going to play the game like during the day, or you're not like, obviously it sounds like the game system's in the bedroom. Like, first consideration there, move it somewhere else to where you're not getting woken up while you're trying to play the game, or like while he's trying to play the game. That would be my first bit of encouragement. Like, move it somewhere else, set stipulations on it, because I mean, if you're not setting ground rules now, what happens when you guys are married and you do have a kid, or so on and so forth. Like, also, as an adult, I'm not a big gamer, but as an adult, I don't have any business being awake at 3 a.m. or in the middle of the night, because
That's true.
I have to get up early. So does my man's even have a job? Like, what do his responsibilities look like? I don't know. Like, I would say, yeah, first off, like, have a conversation, move it somewhere else, reevaluate your relationship, because my dude sounds unstable. Like, seek help.
Yeah. I have a cure-all solution, all right? This is my not practical solution. It's going to take probably $400 to $500 of investment, but set him up as a streamer and just let it happen. People will watch people raging, so just let him run his natural course. It solves the job problem. He's making money now.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, my husband had 7 concussions by the time that we were married because he's a rager.
Hey, we make $3,000 a week though.
Oh my gosh, dude.
I don't know. Yeah, no, don't take that advice. That was a joke. But
I mean, or do like, YOLO. Like, if that's the only thing he's bringing to the table, like,
if he's the one and you have to do this, that's your route.
And you have to do this.
Okay, this is your only way.
I feel like now we're just like disapproving parents. All right, Bethany, like, if you have to do this, like, you might as well make a buck off of it.
All right, so this one says, Mom won't let me get braces. I'm a 17-year-old male and I have awfully crooked and gap teeth, especially in the front. I'm at a point in my life where I can't even smile at people without them judging and making fun of me behind my back for it. I can't just not care and keep smiling like I used to when I was younger. My mom doesn't understand that. Whenever I tell her it's affecting my day-to-day life, she says don't care about what others think and continues to lie to my face and said it's totally normal and fine. I will admit that the current budget is tight and we can't afford to get me braces even if we wanted to, but I've been telling her about it for over a year now and the answer is always the same. I will add that my mom did not get to have a formal education when she was young and thus does not possess the necessary knowledge to even comprehend what braces are for. She thinks it's some sort of surgery that might end up leaving my face messed up for life. I'm just so tired and I don't know what to do anymore. I don't want to go out anymore and my self-esteem is at its lowest.
Mm. Yeah, I think in the regards to them saying that their mom has really no idea, I would say, man, like, go speak to your orthodontist. Like, get clarity on that. Have a conversation with the dentist. Hopefully you are regularly going to a dentist. This is for all you people listening. If you haven't been to a dentist in forever, like, schedule an appointment with a dentist because it's important. But, have that conversation so your mom can have a little bit more information there. But I think on the other side of things, like, the thing that really resonates with me is that financial strain. Like, braces are expensive, and I think it's really hard for a parent to be like, hey, like, we can't get you this thing that would probably benefit you because we genuinely just can't afford it, and it's like, if your mom has the same job that she had a year ago, like, what do you think has changed? Probably not much financially. Like, I don't think, it doesn't seem to me like your mom doesn't care. It really seems that it's just, like, not really financially in the cards right now. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's financial. I almost wonder, like, if this is outside of the U.S. culture, because if she is genuinely confused and she's not just saying stuff to get them off the back about finances, like, I don't know, like, if maybe they're from a place where braces aren't as common, because like the U.S. braces are everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, I would say 1 out of 3 kids have braces. Like, I don't think that's an accurate statement, but it's not. Maybe 1 out of 5 or 8.
Yeah, don't add us, dental
had,
society.
I mean, I had braces. I didn't wear my retainers like I was supposed to. We're not going to talk about that. But like, just hearing my dad like 2 years later, after my braces were gone or something like that, saying, "Oh, I'm about to make the last payment on your braces," like that hits hard.
Yeah,
like,
no doubt.
Like, just for something that's a physical appearance. Well, teeth do tie to heart health, so having crooked teeth is more likely to have a heart attack or something like that. So, I mean, it's important.
Yikes.
But that doesn't guarantee you're gonna have a heart attack.
Yeah, and I think there's definitely a difference when it comes to like teeth health, to where it's like you have an obscene amount of cavities or they're rotting out and things like that, versus gaps in your teeth or having crooked teeth. But even in that, like, this person said they're 17 years old. Man, if this is super important to you, get a job. Like,
Yeah.
raise some money to where you're able to, like, obviously maybe not pay for your braces all at once, but at least, say, hey, mom, like, I want to help out here. Can I get this job and then use the job to make payments, to get this, to have this be something for me,
I'm sure, yeah.
And it's like, but that's not what a lot of people want to hear. A lot of people don't want to hear that. They just want to hear mom make a way, regardless of how much sacrifice it takes on their part, just so they can have a nice smile. And it's like, man, I think in perspective, like, take that chance, get a job, like, have it be something that you get to work for. And then maybe, like, no jab to you, but maybe once you get your braces off, you'll wear those retainers, like, you'll actually be disciplined to be on top of it. And I'm not saying that just for you, because I mean, my wife is in the same boat. She didn't wear her retainers. I don't think a lot of kids do, because they're annoying. I can guarantee they're annoying. I don't have experience in that. I didn't have braces, but I know plenty of people who did. That just didn't want to wear their retainers because either they were painful or it was just a hassle or so on and so forth.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, my teeth didn't shift like all the way back to like they were terrible. I used to have awful teeth.
Sure.
Probably on par with this dude if he described them like that. But yeah, my retainers like flattened out at like the back.
Dang.
So I don't know if I was grinding my teeth or something, but it made them to where they were almost unwearable.
Yeah.
And after the first time replacing them, I was like, nah, I'm not worrying about this no more. It's not worth it.
And you didn't want to talk like this all the time.
Yeah. Bruh, I mean, it was only at night, but it's just like they hurt too.
Yeah.
So you're kind of like, my teeth, they're holding them from moving. So
Yeah. I think just to close with that, man, I would say, don't be too hard on your mom. Like, moms, they take a brunt of a lot of. I don't know if she's a single mom. I mean, just the way that they're communicating, it kind of seems like it's just mom in the picture. And if that is the case, like, dude, cut them some slack. Realize that we can't get everything that we want, especially with like the healthcare system nowadays. Like, braces are usually deemed cosmetic, and so they don't get covered by insurance. And so, if it's that big of a deal, and you're 17, you're really close to being an adult, take that initiative, try to get a side hustle or, get a job or something like that to try to, work toward getting those done.
yeah, definitely. Hey, if you want to see the biggest teeth bounce back of all time, look up NBA superstar Anthony Davis, and you'll know, like, anything is possible. He was in his like probably 1920 when he got him. So you got some time, my guy.
Oh my gosh! Have those Inspector Gadget teeth, man.
Oh yeah. Oh man. All right. So this one says, exposing a massive family secret. How would you feel if you found out that everyone in your family kept a huge secret from you your entire life? I have 3 cousins who are now in the late 20s or early 30s who believe my uncle is their father. Everyone in my family except for them has known for decades that my uncle was not their father. My aunt and uncle have been living the massive lie for so long, and it's starting to affect their lives. My uncle has also been a very successful businessman, has developed a drinking pill problem, and desperately needs therapy. I think it's all due to the guilt he feels now that the children he raised are full-grown adults, and knowing that one day they will find out the truth. He has been a wonderful and devoted father. His children love him very much. My 3 cousins have family by blood that desperately want to be in their lives, but now have been forced to keep their distance. The oldest of the three would inherit the land in Italy from his real grandfather that is still living. My family is very small. The family my cousins would find out about is much larger and diverse. They have a completely different cultural heritage that they may never know about.
Golly. I was like, this seems pretty normal until it gets to like, they're going to inherit some land in Italy and their dad has a pill and drinking problem. And it's like, golly. That escalated so quick. That escalated so quickly.
I don't know. It's weird. You're adopted, but hey, it's still adopted by your family. That's an odd situation. I mean, it's not odd. It's practical. But it's like, why are they not telling them? What is? Do they hate that other part of their family?
Yeah, that is super weird. I think it's just one of those conversations that you mean to have, and then it kind of gets to a point where you feel like it's too late because they're adults now, and then now there's just the fear of like, man, like this could really go bad, you know? Because I think it was just I think the premise of it was just waiting too long to feel comfortable in doing it, you know? Because I think a lot of adoptive families, they try to have that conversation when the kids are younger, so they grow up knowing, okay, like these aren't my biological parents, but they're still mom and dad. You know,
now it's gonna be awkward.
Yeah, and I think that conversation is gonna be awkward regardless. You know, whether I think if you have it as a younger kid, I think it's uncomfortable, and then you just kind of forget about it over time. You know, or it just becomes normal.
Yeah.
Whereas as an adult, you process things so much differently, and you really have gone all your life like oblivious. You know, and I think that's the big thing there. But I mean, one like that. Regardless of how you feel about it, that needs to be outed. Like, regardless of how you feel about it, like, especially when it comes into, like, this guy is so eaten up about it, he's, like, turned to, like, narcotics, and then there's some future things that are coming into play, like getting to know their extended family and inheriting property and things like that. Like, that conversation has to happen. And I think, if they love them, like, if both of these parties love each other, there just needs to be a conversation and sensitivity there. Like, hey, like, I'm so sorry I didn't tell you this earlier. Like, please forgive me, kind of deal. Like, we love you. And then proceeding with trying to reconcile and bring, some kind of harmony to the relationship, and then going forward from there. Like, I think the fact that this guy let it get to the point of he would rather have turned to pills and alcohol before communicating to these kids, like, that's pretty messed up. Like that was not the route to take. But, whoever posted this, I think, can play a part, in having that communication. But doing things in grace, like doing things lovingly and not like abrasive. Because, things could go really well and things could also go really bad. Like, you don't want it to get to a point where it goes bad.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to adoption, my aunt adopted 4 kids. So, I mean, I kind of saw some of their reactions when they were told. Mm-hmm. And I think the honest truth is, if they're going to resent you, they're going to resent you, but it's not going to last forever.
Yeah.
Like, ultimately, like, if they're going to react that way initially, it's going to happen. You have to work your way through it. But, like, you need to give them the time to process that, and it's a lot easier for them to process that when they're at a younger age, because they don't start logically thinking about it as much. Mm-hmm. Like, if you tell a grown adult that, they're gonna think, why didn't you not tell me for all these years? And I think that just starts an overthinking cycle.
Yeah. Yeah, and realistically, like, we're only responsible for ourselves. We're only responsible for ourselves and how we react to things. And so, like, as that father, because regardless of whether I'm biologically somebody's dad or not, like, I raised them for 20 plus years, like, I'm their dad, and it's like,
yeah,
as their dad, man, I'm obligated to, like, tell them this. I'm obligated to communicate that to them and to do it in love, especially because there are, like, external circumstances. There's family that want to communicate, there's inheritance, there's property, so on and so forth. Now, what I don't have control over is how my kids react. Because, like, They could have an immediate resentment. They could come back to me. They could cut me out entirely, you know? But it's like,
Yeah.
as a father, I'm still like in good conscience, you know, because right now he's not in good conscience, right? He's turning to narcotics. Like, in good conscience, I want to communicate the truth to them regardless of how it affects me. Because if I don't communicate something to them, and because of the fear of how they'll respond, like, I'm just being selfish, right? Like, I'm not being loving. So I want to communicate things in love, be real, be honest, be transparent, regardless of what the consequence is. Because at the end of the day, like, it was my fault for not being upfront to begin with. You know, so in that, like, yeah, I mean, play a part, have the communication, you know, have that communication of, you know, trying to get the ball rolling on that, but saying, like, yeah, you know, that advice there is to have that conversation, be transparent, be real, like, let them know now, because better late than never, right? Especially with all the implications that that holds, and then going from there.
Yeah. And unless this is some type of like crazy lockdown situation, props to the extended family for respecting boundaries.
Yeah.
Because they could easily just contact them in today's day and age, like through social media or something. So, I mean, at least they're respecting the decision, whether it's right or wrong. It's just now it does put that decision more on one person's shoulders, though.
Yeah, and that is weird, dude. Like, the fact that they were like, oh yeah, like, everybody but these kids have known for decades. Like, what? I just,
Why not just tell the kid?
you know, and that might be, you know, they mentioned like just cultural differences there. That might just be like, you know, an entirely separate culture, because they did say like there's land in Italy, so they're probably an Italian, you know, culture, which obviously, like, the way people
It's the mob.
they've actually inherited the mafia.
This is a great movie plot now.
Yeah, dude, no doubt.
You've been raised your whole life not knowing you're heirs to the mafia, and
Yeah,
it's time for you to step
you're
up.
adopted, and you're the sole heir to the mafia throne. You're the new mob boss.
Ooh. All right, so I'm gonna go on a little bit of a darker note here, more solid. What's the word? Solid.
Awesome,
note,
thank you for that.
But it's an important situation. I wanted to prepare you. All right. So, seeing my family die out has taken a toll on me. Nothing but numbness and depression weighs on me, and every time one of them passes. I lost my grandma in 2014, my aunt in 2017, and my other aunt and uncle this year. I was born in 95 and raised throughout my life by every single one of them. They were like extra mothers and fathers in my life, but now they are passing one by one, and seeing it in real time has taken a toll on me. I have an aunt and uncle left, both in their 60s, and also my dad, who turned 55 this year. It worries me so much that what I'm going to do when that day comes. I thought seeing all them pass would get, or as I saw all them pass, I would get used to it, but it hurts more and more each time. I just need advice on how to keep a level head and how to get through the emotions better.
Yeah, that's tough. The sad part is it doesn't get easier. I mean, like, especially if you have emotional ties to them. You know, I think the only way that passing gets easier is if the deaths are distant family members. You know, like, oh yeah, like,
Yeah.
you know, my great aunt that I never met passed away. Well, there's not really an emotional tie there, but when it's like your aunt, your grandmother, your grandfather, your uncle, especially if you have a really tight knit family, you know, that's where it really gets hard. I think the only, you know, the only comfort in that is, one, like, and this is not isolated to your family. You know, like, this happens in every single family in existence, and everybody that came before us has had to deal with loss. You know, man, as a believer, like, man, we have one comfort in knowing, like, if our family members are believers, like, man, we will see them again. You know, like, they're in paradise, they're in eternity, like, they're rejoicing with the Father. You know, Paul says that death is gain. And so we have to take that comfort and know, like, man, we mourn and we're sorrowful for the loss that we have on earth, but, man, they're seated at the right hand of the Father rejoicing. You know, and that's a comfort that we have as believers. And man, if you don't have that comfort, like, man, seek Jesus. You know, seek the cross, like, seek what He's done for us, so you can have that comfort, so you can have that security. You know, so your family can have that security. But with that being said, like, I I resonate with that kind of twofold, man. Like I've seen, so my grandmother passed away in 2012 and my grandfather passed away in 2021 or 2020. I think it was November 2020 he passed because he got sick with COVID and passed away with COVID. And like those two deaths were really the first two deaths that I've experienced in my family. And they were the hardest because they were definitely like they were like the backbone of they were my dad's side of the family. And so they were the only grandparents I knew. And that was like and that was pretty unbelievable once my grandfather passed because I just watched like my aunts and my dad kind of like at each other's throats, my cousins kind of like everybody just kind of falling apart because the backbone of my family just like had passed away, you know, the one that was holding everything together. And then you start dealing with property and assets and things like that, you know, and kind of without going into much detail, like you kind of start watching your family die out, you know, like your get-togethers aren't as full anymore. Like they're not as prominent, they're not as joyful, they're not as happy because you know the grandparents were the ones that held that together. And when you look at you know your grandfather as like the patriarch of the family, you realize like at some point he was the grandbaby. You know, like he's had to watch his siblings die. He's had to watch his parents die, his grandparents. Like, you know, for the person that sent this in, it's like it hasn't stopped and it won't stop. It's not going to stop until Jesus comes back. You know, and the one hope that we have in salvation is, you know, the peace that our family members have and glory and in paradise. But, you know, other than that, it's just one of those things that we look at it being the circle of life, you know, and I think things get easier once you start having a family of your own. You know, once you get married, once you start having kids, and it starts to continue. But from what it sounds like, they're still, you know, they're actually a year younger than me. You know, I was born in '94, so they're 27. I don't know how old they were when they made this post, but you know they could still be single. And I think as a single person, watching everybody that helped raise you is pretty unbearable. You know, but it's just one of those things that
Well,
time does heal all wounds.
yeah, yeah, that's true. We're also in a very different place societally than we were any other point in history. Like we're probably experiencing more death than we ever have, like in our own lives, just because people are living longer. Because
Mm.
you wouldn't have 100 years ago might not have had a chance to know your grandparents. They might have died before you got to an age to actually have that relationship. So that's twofold. You get to rejoice in the fact that you actually get to have time with them, get to grow and get those precious years. But it's also hard because now you have all these close relationships and more get cut off. Um, and I mean, it was probably more on the flip side because there were more children deaths back
Mm.
then. So it was equally as hard. It was just different. But you know, the Bible says we leave our family and we cling to our wife. And that's not to say to abandon your family by any means. It just means that you're starting something new. So it may feel like the old is just completely gone, but that's carrying through you through generations. The Hebrews or the Jews actually believe, especially historically and biblically, that before that they lived on through their children. That was the only way that their bloodline was carried on. That they lived on in their mindset, which this was before the time of the Messiah and all that. So it's very just be happy that you get to carry on their memories and don't let their stories die.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, continue that legacy. Continue, you know, making those important people in your lives proud, and not dwelling on the past. You know, like we
Yeah.
uh, we see that you know Jesus says the man that puts his hand to the plow and looks back, you know, is no benefit for the kingdom. And he's talking about our past, in that, right? Like if we dwell in the past, if we dwell on our mistakes, if we dwell on these things, like we're not being focused on the future. We're not being kingdom minded. We're not being focused on sharing the gospel, making disciples, and all of these things. And I think that also really ties into, family members and experiences and people that have taken care of us. Like we can't dwell on that, because when we dwell on that, it prevents us from moving toward the future. And so being really knowledgeable of like, okay, it's okay to mourn. It's okay to feel sorrow. It's even okay to feel like that fear, of like, man, like I really don't want to lose any more family members, right? Like, cause that's natural. It's normal, like we're definitely not trying to invalidate those emotions, but also cultivating and encouraging, like, man, it's going to happen. Like, one, are you prepared for death? Like, are your family members prepared for death? Like, what are your thoughts on the afterlife? Like, what are your thoughts on death? What's held after death? Like, start having those questions now, because man, like, I can't imagine outside of being a believer, like outside of being a Christian, I can't imagine trying to fathom death. I can't imagine trying to fathom losing a family member or losing my life, right? And so I think even outside of that fear and that worry, man, think about what's held. Think about what's there, what's coming in the future. So
that's true. Well, I don't want to end on this note, so I got one more for us. So parents won't let me, a 16-year-old, sleep alone in my own room. I'm 16 and my parents wouldn't let me sleep in my own room. They told me they're going to sleep with me until I get a girlfriend and stuff. There are other things they do that tick me off, like walking me to school, even though it's 5 minutes away, and not letting me hang out with friends. I tried to tell them that they should let me sleep alone now because I'm too old, and they just say, why do I want to have my own room, and threaten to take my phone away and stuff like that. And they even said they're going to take my PS4 and TV away if I'm going to sleep alone. And the one time I was alone in my room just watching YouTube, and they opened the door wide open and told me to sleep. I was sleepy, so I went and turned off the light. But they said I have to sleep with the light on and not close the door. Sometimes I would sleep in the room by myself and would close the door, but they would come open it wide and turn the light on. And any advice on how I can convince them to give me any privacy?
Bro, what the heck?
I don't even know. I can't even believe this, but it's that crazy. Like, I mean, I can believe it. There's some I don't want to use the term crazy. There's some interesting people.
Nah, dude, that's crazy. Like,
it is.
I'm gonna tell you that to your face. Like,
it's beyond.
Like, Mom,
crazy,
Dad, you are being crazy right now, dude.
Like, I don't understand why they want to sleep in.
It's like a horror movie. It's like a thriller.
I had the same vibe.
It's like a thriller. Like
This kid needs to run.
It's like I'm watching a nightmare unfold. Like, I don't know. Like, the biggest question behind that is why. Like,
why?
Did they give him some type of reason? Did they give him some type of communication of like why we're doing this? Aside from because I said so. Like it.
I don't understand. Why does he have to sleep with the lights on in his room?
I don't know, dude. Like that. That is so weird. I think because like that definitely that screams to like some, I don't know, just some mental stuff, that your parents have going on, because it's like there's like a mental regression there, because you're seeing symptoms of like, okay, yeah, like your kid is afraid of the dark, your kid doesn't want to sleep alone. Okay, well, sleep with us. We'll turn the light on, like we'll keep the door open, and so on and so forth. But it's totally flipped, right? It's like, no, like you're going to sleep with us. You can't sleep by yourself. Like you're going to sleep with your light on. You're going to do this. It's just like the opposite. It's like Inception right now. Like my mind is cooking from the inside out.
This is definitely a Jordan Peele movie, right? Like it has to be.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, this one's called Don't Go to Sleep.
I wouldn't be able to sleep. I would be terrified. I mean, I guess if you knew it was your parents and you knew them their whole life, I'd still be
Yeah, I
terrified.
mean,
Like,
dude,
if that
never have I
happened.
ever heard of anything like this. Oh yeah, we're gonna punish you because you didn't leave your door open and your lights on and you didn't sleep with us. Like, I don't,
The thing that gets me is the lights. I don't understand that. Like, I could, on an extreme case that's still terrible, understand the door open thing. Like, because some parents are crazy like that. But why do they have to sleep in the bed with you? I just three people to a bed is cramped to begin with, no matter how
yeah,
weird it is.
I don't know, like, I still am, I'm having a lot of difficulty believing the, like, validity in this because it's just like,
I think it might be false, but why would someone like write this?
yeah, it's like you got something wrong in
I,
your
I
brain
didn't
now.
I didn't check it for factuality. This had so much shock value that I needed to like just talk this out with you.
Yeah, I mean, because realistically, it's like no evidence we could give, or not evidence, but no advice we could give could remedy that until you were able to move out on your own. You know?
Contact Child Protective
Yeah, like call
Services.
CPS, like call a
That's your
priest,
answer.
like something, like call Oprah Winfrey,
Holy water
call
ready.
somebody. Get me on Dr. Phil. Like,
Um.
let me
Oh
get on some
man.
talk show or seek some kind of psychiatric help because,
The
dude,
vibes
the
here I'm
vibes are
getting
not
out
immaculate
right
right
now.
now.
Whew.
The vibes are very uncomfy.
Spooky vibes. I should have saved this for
Oh my
October.
gosh,
Like, just,
dude.
uh,
Yeah, that is wild because it's like, the only thing that you really can do is either to submit to that authority and just like live live your life to where it's like, as long as there's not like any abuse happening, because this seems like a
wait,
really
isn't
this
that
seems like a no,
abuse?
I'm saying like this seems like a really sketchy situation, and so I was like, as long as there's no abuse happening, right? So it's like if there's some things that they haven't divulged
Oh yeah.
like scenario, I would say, man, like if you are like you're 16, you got a year or two until you can move out. Realistically, like in some states, you can move out now. If you're able to get a job and continue to do job, school, move in with a friend, or find an apartment, or something like that. Like that would really be the only way that you could get out of that, or just taking the next year or two and being like, all right, like I just got to take this L, and like be
Yeah.
submit.
Imagine how sleep deprived they are, sleeping with lights on every
Well, I
night.
mean, but see, maybe not because if that's all they've known, like I think you'd get used to sleeping with the lights on.
They have no circadian rhythm.
Like it's
It's
so weird,
gone.
Well, I think also when they communicated, yeah, like sometimes I've fallen asleep just on my own and end up being waken up by them and so on and so forth. And it's like there's just no chill there. Like what I have
You're
questions
not
for
letting
their
your kids
parents.
sleep.
It's like what, like who hurt you? Like
Yeah.
what happened to the point to where you really have to do this for your child, And I think there's some trauma in one of those parents that has led for them to feel like
Deep.
they have to protect their child by doing this. When you think of parents being crazy, you see parents doing stuff that's like kind of insane to us, but their rationalization of it is because they want to protect their kid. There's always
Yeah.
some sort of like, well, I'm protecting my child by doing this. And so I think there's something that happened previously in one of those parents' lives to where it's like maybe they wanted to sleep in the bed of their parents. Maybe they wanted to have the light on and they wanted to have a door open, but their parents disciplined them in a way that they weren't allowed to have that. Right? And so when they're like, oh well, now that I'm older, like I'm not going to be that parent. Like I'm not going to make my child suffer in the way that I did. But in doing that, they went to some sort of extreme, and it's like, well, no, like you have to sleep with us, like you have to have your door open, you have to have your light on, because we're going to keep you safe, we're going to keep you comfortable, and we're going to protect you, right? But in them trying to protect, they're actually not protecting at all, and they're acting really, really crazy.
That's true.
You know.
Oh, I accidentally started playing an episode. I was preparing for something, but no, you're 100% right. I was just getting it ready because I promised to shout out anyone who gave us a comment. So, I don't know how to get to where I'm supposed to be. I ruined the vibe of the episode. Okay, anyway, I don't know exactly what they said. I think it's someone you know, but Bearded Rut is their name on the podcast. Yeah. I don't know. They said that they have enjoyed the episodes and it's great to listen to, and they've enjoyed the advice so far.
Awesome.
So
shout out to you, Bearded Rut, if you want to remain anonymous. But I know who you are, and so you can let me know if you're cool with us saying your real name, your government name that your parents gave you, and we'll be sure to do it again next episode.
Yep, and make sure to leave us a 5-star review on any platform, and if you are able to leave a comment there, leave it, and we'll shout you out on the next episode if we see it between now and then. And make sure that you listen to these episodes. Share it. Word of mouth is very important. People overlook that, so tell your friends about it if you enjoy it, because your word matters.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, share with your friends. Give us a 5-star, follow, like, and subscribe on YouTube to Small World. And yeah, I mean, I've had tons of people say, I'm gonna, throw in a comment for advice or so on and so forth, but I still haven't seen it, random citizens. And so make sure that you guys take the time, take a few seconds to do that. I know things seem a lot more tedious when we think about doing them, but they're so much easier when we do. So go ahead and prove yourself wrong. Go ahead and click the 5-star, leave a comment, throw some advice in, or some questions in, and we'll be sure to get back to you guys.
Yeah. And if you're thinking about leaving a 3-star, just don't do anything. You don't need to waste the effort.
Yeah, dude, if you're going to click a button, man, you might as well just go a little bit further to the right, because you love us.
It's not difficult. No, we take all honest and genuine feedback. All right. Well, I hope y'all have a great week, and we will see you next time on the Small World Podcast. Small Talk Podcast.
Caught himself.
Part of the Small World Media. I'm sorry. Recorded the other episode 2 days ago.
Bye, y'all.
All right, guys.